So let's get started. The first factor for effective virtual learning that I want you to consider is your intentional instruction on a standard and a learning target. What is it that students will be studying? What students will be engaged in the context in which you will frame that? Having a clear and transparent instructional focus will definitely decrease barriers and hopefully increase student engagement and students' motivation to be engaged in the learning and to produce products that will demonstrate their level of understanding. The second factor that I want you to consider for your virtual instruction would be pacing. Determine how fast you can go with your students, but in order to do that, you have to know your students. What is the learning expectation, and what is your plan of progression for instruction in terms of pacing to get the students to the end goal as it is communicated by the Georgia Standards of Excellence? Pacing, pacing, pacing is essential. You don't want to leave anybody behind because you're moving too fast. The third factor for effective virtual instruction that I want you to consider would be access. When your students are working independently, do they have access to guides and resources that they can tangibly and quickly get hold of to support their demonstration of understanding? That can come in the form of images, it can come in the form of videos, notes, or guided notes. But remember, access also means the ability of a student to process the information. So consider those things that may be barriers like reading comprehension that may prevent your students from understanding those things that you have expected for them to know, do, and understand. The fourth factor that I want you to consider for virtual instruction is student performance. What are you asking your students to do while they are in the virtual setting, and being realistic about if they can actually do this work? Remember, access is important, but the actual work being aligned to the learning target and the standard is also very key to ensure that you are moving along while students are virtually, but they are also providing clear examples of their understanding of the content. The fifth and final factor for effective virtual instruction that I want you to consider is feedback. How often are you providing clear and transparent feedback to your students on their performance and their understanding of learning targets and standards? Feedback drives students to meet goals and to meet the expectation of your learning targets as well as the expectation of state standards. Make sure that feedback is a consistent practice in your repertoire to make sure that you are highly effective in the classroom with your students in a virtual setting.